Thanks everyone for jumping on the Sortly mobile demo. This is going to cover the Sortly mobile app offered in both the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Feel free to download the app for both your Android device as well as your iPhone. You can also use this on your tablet as well. Now, this video here is going to cover every single feature and functionality offered in the mobile app specifically. I'll go through each and every detail, and this is similar to everything that you have access to on the web, but there is some added functionality in here specifically, so I want to highlight that for you. So this page here, this is going to be the items tab. You initially will probably land on the magnifying glass specifically. This magnifying glass is going to be where you can search for your inventory as well as scan a QR code or barcode, but we're going to cover this a little bit later on in this demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and start in the items tab here specifically. Now, the items tab is going to be where you have all of your inventory. This would be your folders. This would be any of the inventory items that you're working with, as well as subfolders alike. Now, a couple high-level things I want to start off with. So we'll start with the search bar right under the items tab. This is where you can actually type in what you want to search for. So if we search for the term light, it's going to pull up all items that have that criteria light in them specifically. Now, right below that, you're going to see some high-level analytics that you can utilize. So currently at the current level I'm at, which is at the all items tab, I have 4 folders available to me. There is 0 items at the moment at this level. There's about 30,000 total units across the board. And if we scroll to the right a little bit here, we're going to see the total value of our inventory, which is just over $1 million worth of inventory. Right below that field, you're going to see that there's an opportunity to click on the quantity dropdown. This allows you to sort by some of the preset options here. Keep in mind, or one thing to note, is that on the web version of the software, you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what you can sort by. But in this current mobile version of the software, we have a limited SKU of what you can sort by within the system. Now, to the right of the quantity field, right below the total monetary value, there is the 4 squares icon. So if you wish to change this to more of a grid view, you can do so. You can also click into it and make it more of a list view, which is what I have here currently. Now, on these items here, you can see some initial information or folders specifically. We do have our different folders laid out here, and we can kind of scroll up and down. You'll notice that some of the folders have tags associated with them, others do not. You'll also see that inside the Out Jobs folder, you see that there are 9 subfolders there indicated by that 9. There's 12,000 units in that folder, and the total monetary value in that folder is $910,000. Now, if we click on any of the tags, it's going to take us to the tags panel. So we'll talk about tags a little bit later on in this demonstration. But if you click on the 3 dots here, there's going to be some opportunity for you to make some adjustments, move items around, view some history, export. You can even set alerts, create a label. You can clone, see the details, or delete that item. So we'll dive into all of that in just a moment here. So in order to add our first inventory item into the system, all we have to do is click on the red plus at the bottom right-hand corner here. When we click on that, that's going to pull up an opportunity for us to create an item or a folder. Now, in today's example, I'm really going to focus on creating an item specifically. So I'm going to hit the add item function, and it's going to pull up an item details view for us. Now, in this example today, we have the ability for us to add photos. So we can click on the add photo option here, and that would allow us to pull up our camera roll specifically. So you can see my phone's camera. I'm going to work with a Gatorade bottle in today's example. So I can just take a picture of that here. I can then click on the add button at the top right in order to add that inventory item photo into the system. Now, there is the option to pull from your camera roll as well. So if you wish to do so, just feel free to go through that process and select the camera roll option instead. Now, in this case today, I'm going to type in fruit punch as an example. Now, this is going to be the item name of that specific inventory item. So when you search for that item, if you type in the fruit punch, it's going to pull in that information. Right below this, you're going to see the quantity field. I'm going to put a quantity of 55. And to the right of the quantity field, you see a drop down here for units. So we offer a bunch of different units of measure that you can work with, 20 to be exact. One thing to keep in mind, very similar to what you've experienced on the web, there is the opportunity, you'll initially, whatever unit of measure you create is going to be the one that you're stuck with throughout the entirety of that item within the system. So feel free to set that up. Just make sure it's the item or the unit that you want to work with specifically. To the right of this, you're going to see an opportunity for a min level. So I can set that minimum threshold to 5. This basically means when I hit that minimum threshold of 5, I'm going to get a little red banner on my item, letting me know that I'm running low on it. But I can also take that a step further. You see the bell icon to the right. If you click on that bell, that's going to allow me to set a quantity alert for that item specifically. So in this case, we can start off by selecting when we want to be notified. By default, it's always going to be set to at or below minimum level. You have greater than, less than, greater than, or equal to, less than, or equal to. So I'm just going to choose the default, which is at or below that minimum level. You also know notice the minimum level pulls in from the previous screen. So if you want to make any last minute adjustments to that, feel free to do so. You can click on this 5 and go ahead and type in whatever parameter you would like to there. Now you can send who this alert is going to go to. By default, it's always going to be the user profile that you're signed in as. So it has self-selected. But if you want to do groups of users, you could select admins, owners, or members, or you can just select yourself. There is also the opportunity down below to select individuals manually within the organization. So I could select my colleague Camille as an example, and both myself and Camille would be notified in this setup. Now, when we set this alert, essentially, we're going to get a notification in 4 main ways. 2 are more so visual, and 2 are going to be more so push notifications. So we'll get a push notification on our phone or tablet if we have that enabled. You're also going to get the opportunity to get an email alert. So it will either come to a single email or multiple emails on file, depending on your parameters. You would see a visible banner on the item in red, letting you know that you're running low on it specifically. And you're also going to see an alert within the alerts tab specifically. You can view this on the web version specifically. It's going to have a detailed view of all the alerts that have been triggered. Now, to know the alert is active, you see that the bell icon is red. So it went from a black color to a red color. That just means that the alert is active on that item. Now, the price field, we can go in and put the price that we want to. I'm going to put $2.50. It's automatically going to calculate the quantity times that price to give us that total value field. So that's going to be pulled in there. Now, one of the biggest advantages of working with the mobile app is the ability to link QR codes or barcodes. So in this example today, if I click on the barcode option here, it's going to offer me the ability to either create a new code or a link an existing code. Now, for me, I'm going to link an existing code. We'll talk a little bit later about creating a new code and how that process looks. So just bear with me for just a few moments. So I'm going to go ahead and hit link existing. It's going to pull up my phone's camera. I'll click the add button here. It pulls up the phone's camera, and then I can go in and scan that barcode on that item specifically. Now, there is a tool here to use the lookup option, so you can look up that product specifically. But in today's example, I'm just going to hit the link function here. Now, I do want to highlight briefly for the lookup option. This pulls in from a database on eBay specifically. So there's a good opportunity where you could scan a QR code or barcode, and it doesn't pull up that item directly. Unfortunately, we don't really have control over that since we're pulling from eBay's API specifically. So it's best to just set up the link feature here and just click at the bottom right corner, just hit the link option, and we will see in real time that that code has been linked, and you can see that code down below. Now, I do want to type on one additional field here. If you click on this drop-down caret, it's going to actually expand to any of the custom fields that you've built within the system. Now, depending on your plan, you'll have a set number of custom fields that are available to you. Enterprise customers have unlimited custom fields. So generally, you'll want to create them in the web version to just have a visual layout of what that looks like. And you'll see all of these additional fields are available to you here as well. So feel free to enable this in this setting. There is also an option for variants that you can toggle on. Refer to the web version of the software to see how the variance is set up, but you can enable that in mobile as well. Now, once this item is all set up and good to go, I'm just going to hit the save button at the top right. That's then going to create the item in real time for us. And we see that that fruit punch has been generated and is seen down in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, a couple of things I want to highlight. So if we click on the 3 dots for that item, it's going to pull up some additional item details that we can utilize for this item. So of course, there's an opportunity to manually adjust that quantity. So we could reduce the quantity here. We could increase the quantity, of course. We could type in the new quantity we want to end up with. And we can also add a reason as to why we're making this transaction. So whether it's consumed, whether it's a restock, maybe the items were stolen or damaged, we can indicate that here specifically. So I can select restock. I can even add a transactional note as to why I'm making this adjustment. So, adding new inventory, received new inventory from shipping on X date. This is definitely beneficial for you and the team in terms of tracking purposes. So you can utilize this and indicate, why you're making this adjustment or when this was moved within the system specifically. Once you hit update, you'll see in real time that the quantity jumped from 55 to 75, and the monetary value also increased in real time as well. Now, if we wanted to update the item's quantity or move it to a different location, we can also hit the move function here. So if we hit move, it's going to allow us to move this item or a set quantity of it to a different location. So let's say I wanted to move 25 units. I can type in the number 25. It's then going to pull up the folders that I have available to me. So if I wanted to allocate these to a specific location, I can do so. Let's assume for a second I wanted to move these to the out/job folders, and specifically that Los Angeles subfolder. I can highlight that folder. You'll see it becomes red, and then I can go ahead and hit move. It's going to ask me if I want to confirm this or if I'm okay with moving this. So I go ahead and hit move, and it's going to make that adjustment for me. Now, a couple additional settings that you'll see here, if you click on the three dots of that item, you have an history associated with it. So if we click on history, it's going to show all the events that have occurred for that item in real time. So you can see in the past 7 minutes, I've made some adjustments. And in 54 seconds ago and 10 seconds ago, I also made some adjustments as well to that item. Now, keep in mind that history is going to be a little bit more in depth on the web version, so you have a little bit more access. You can also export this data. You can export as well on the mobile by clicking the three dots here, and you have the ability to export at the bottom portion, as well as make some adjustments on that as well. So feel free to utilize that if you would like. All right, a couple other things I want to highlight for you. So up at the top of the page, we'll start right below the time function. So if we click on that specifically, it's going to pull up all of our folders so we can select what folder we want to start in. So if I say all inventory or available inventory, I can navigate to that folder, and it's just going to show inventory that's specific to that folder. Now you'll notice that in the top center of the screen, it indicates the folder that you're in. There's also a scan function at the top, which we'll talk about in just a moment, as well as the three dots here to jump into some additional settings here, such as bulk select, exporting your data, creating alerts, and even creating labels as well. So we'll talk about all of those a little bit later on in this demonstration. Now up at the top right, I want to focus specifically on a functionality that many users use to update or increase quantity without much effort at all, simply by scanning a QR code or barcode. So in order to enable this setting, all we have to do is click on the scanner tool here at the top right. We click on that. That's going to pull up what we call our quick actions. Now there's 3 steps to this process. First and foremost, you're going to choose the quick action. So whatever quick action you want to work with, you're going to choose that initially. Then you're going to scan the item's QR code or barcode to perform the action. And then you can rinse and repeat, essentially using that setting over and over again within the process. So let's go ahead and start by choosing a quick action. So in this example today, I want to focus primarily on using the increase or decrease option, but I'm going to run through each of these options with you. So there is an opportunity here to essentially select the edit quantity. So you can either select to edit the item specifically after scanning. So if you wanted to set the quantity after scanning, you can. There's also an ability to set a quantity. So if you know what you're going to end up with, you can set up that quantity or set the quantity upon scanning so that once you make that scan, it's going to adjust to that quantity specifically. There's also the opportunity down below a little bit further to move to a folder either before or after scanning. So if you wanted to select the folder before scanning, you can select that folder before, or if you want to select the folder after scanning, you can do that as well. So it's very easy to kind of make those adjustments in that way. There's also some options down below for adding tags or removing them, and you can clone or edit that item as well as delete it just by scanning. So a lot of opportunity there to make some adjustments. Primarily, you're going to focus on the first half, either the quick quantity or the quick move option there specifically. So again, I'm going to focus on the increase, decrease quantity option. There's going to be the ability for you to either reduce or increase the quantity upon scanning. So the reduce option, think of this like in an event where you're going to go ahead and reduce the quantity overall specifically. Think of this as you're pulling an item off the shelf or you're making an adjustment in a specific way. If you're doing the increase, think of this almost like a restock option. So you can select that there specifically. You can also indicate a reason. So if you wanted to indicate that these items are consumed or sold, you can easily make those adjustments accordingly. And you can even add a transactional note as to why you're planning on making these adjustments. Now, when I hit the next panel here, it's going to pull up my phone's camera and I can begin scanning. So if I pull up the barcode or QR code on the item, it's going to allow me to scan that successfully. So you'll see at the top of the page, every single time I scan that, it's automatically going to decrease the quantity of that item in real time for me. Now, let's say you wanted a little bit more control over this. If we click on the gear icon at the top left, this is going to pull up some additional settings for us. So specifically, this focuses on the move function. So if we wanted to confirm on all updates, we could do so. You're also going to find some settings here for scanning. Now, one thing I want to highlight, the handheld scanner functionality is only offered on the Ultra and the Enterprise plan at this time. So specifically, if you were on those plans, you could use a handheld scanner and connect that with your mobile device. If you do not have that device specifically, or if you're not on that plan, you would only be limited to just use the mobile scanning function. So do keep that in mind. Now, if I hit save here and now I begin to go back to scanning, it should ask me to confirm that specific event. So we see that pop up here. I can go ahead and hit confirm, and that's going to make that adjustment for me. Now, there is also the ability or some additional settings at the bottom of the page that you can utilize. First and foremost, you can delete this quick action. So in that green bar here, there's the trash can icon to delete that specific action if you no longer wish to use it. And then you can go through the process of setting up a new action specifically. Now, under the set new action, you can click that option here, and that's going to pull up the ability for you to set a new action. So if you want to set that up, you can. The quick move option, it's going to allow you to select which folder you want to move the items to. So it's kind of a quick tap that you can make adjustments to. There's also the ability here for saved actions. So if we click on the saved actions, this is going to show all of the saved actions that are stored on your device as of this time. Up at the top right, you can clear all of them, or at the bottom of the middle of the page, you can go in and add additional actions. So you can easily thumb through those when you're performing different actions in your warehouse specifically. All right, so exiting out of this page specifically, I want it to the right of that scanning tool at the top. There is the ability for that checkbox, or the box with a check. This allows you to do bulk selecting of inventory items. So if you wanted to select multiple items at once, you could do so. You could then click on the three dots here to move all of those items or export them, create labels, or even set an alert for them. So feel free to enable that if you see fit. This may or may not be useful to your business depending on your settings. So just to keep that in mind on your end. Now, the last thing I want to highlight here is going to be the slider wheel. This specifically is going to allow you to set up some additional filters for these items. So again, you can start off by changing the view to either a list or grid view. There is some viewing options. So if you want to toggle on summarize items, that allows you to summarize items that are maybe in a variant format or share the same Sortly ID. So kind of a nice feature to enable. If all of your items are one of one, you really don't need to utilize that summarize item. So do keep that in mind. You can choose to hide the SID if you want to, or you can toggle that on. There's also the ability here to hide folders. So if you only wish to see items, no folders, you can do that as well. And then of course you have your sort settings here. So feel free to enable that if you see fit. All right, so jumping into the bottom portion of the app, there are 5 different panels that you can work with. Again, we're currently in the red panel, which is the items tab specifically. To the left of that is going to be the dashboard. So this is just going to be a high-level overview or summary of your inventory. It's really going to show you some insights on your items specifically that you can kind of utilize. So from the inventory summary page, a lot of what we covered in the previous screen, you're able to see. So the total number of items, the total number of folders, your quantity in units across the board, and then your monetary value specifically. There's also some different reporting tabs that have been added here. So we have a low stock report that we can jump into, quantity changes by item. We have a move summary as well as transaction reports. We'll briefly highlight those, but however, I highly encourage you to go into the web version of the software. You can do this by app.sortly.com and then go to the reporting tab to see much more of an in-depth report on a larger screen. It's going to give you a little bit better visibility there. We can also see the recent items. So you'll notice that the fruit punch that we added into the system, the Gatorade that we were working with, that is currently one of the most recent items that we've updated. So we can scroll to the left and we're going to be able to see some of those additional items that we worked with as well pretty recently. And then as we go down a little bit farther, we're going to be able to see stock levels on specific items. So to the right of the stock level icon, it says at or below minimum level. If you click on that, that would enable you to pull up some additional details on the item. So you could set up those stock level, you could set it to custom, and you can also choose how you want to sort, whether it's name or quantity based on highest first or lowest first or A to Z or Z to A. So you choose that parameter accordingly there. Jumping into the search panel here specifically, this is going to be where you can search for an inventory item. So similar to what we saw in the items tab specifically, we can go in, we can search for light, and it's going to pull in all the items that happen to have light associated with it. So we have a good amount of inventory items. You'll also notice up at the top here, it's telling you what folder it's pulling a majority of these items from. So out/jobs. As we go down a little bit farther, there may be other folder indications depending on where these items are located within the system. Now, if you don't want to search using your keyboard, you can also search for the item via the search tool at the bottom right-hand corner. If you click on that barcode option, it's going to pull up your camera. That's going to then allow you to scan that barcode on that item, and then it's going to pull that up directly for you. So we can see here, here's that fruit punch. We could at this point click into that item and begin making adjustments. So very easy for you to scan in a multitude of different ways. So feel free to enable this on your end specifically. All right, going to the bell icon here. So this is going to show any notifications that have ever been triggered within the application. In this case, I've cleared a lot of mine out, but you can go in and actually filter on any notifications that have ever been triggered within the system. You'll be able to view those here. So if you click on the calendar option, it allows you to do last 30 days, last 7 days. You can even do a custom date range if you wish. And then all of those alerts will showcase here. Since mine have been cleared out, I don't have any. So that's why I'm seeing this current view, but any of those alerts will be viewed here. This is also going to trigger on the app itself. It'll look like an unread text message icon. So essentially on your end, you can click into the app, you can click to the alerts tab, you can mark the alert as read, or you can archive the alert if it's already been processed on your end. So again, feel free to enable that on your side of things. Now, the last tab is going to be really more so for a lot of the different settings within the app specifically. So I want to highlight each and every one of these fields here for you and briefly cover each of these sections just so you have some insight into how this works. So up at the top, you're going to see some information, your current company name, as well as your account name. You'll be able to see that information here. There is a user profile tab. So this is where you can see all of your information relative to your account. You can see your name. You can see the email associated with your account. You also have a phone number field if you wish to add that. If you're signing in through Google or Apple, you'll see those connected accounts here. And then there's also an opportunity down below to update your password. So if you need to change your password for whatever reason, feel free to do so through the app. You can also do this on the web experience as well. When we click on the settings panel, there's a bunch of different presets that we can go through. Specifically, I'm going to focus on jumping into each and every one of these. The first one is for preferences. So we have the opportunity to enable push notifications. So if you want that on, keep that toggled on. If you don't wish to receive push notifications, feel free to toggle that off. Under the email field, if you want emails to come to you based on these alerts that you've set, whether it's a date-based alert or a minimum stock alert, you can toggle that on as well here. If you don't wish to have those, simply toggle that off as well. Now, plans and billing, all of the plans will be managed through a different portal here specifically. So essentially only plans and billing will be accessible through the web version of the software. You also must be an owner level user to access any of the plans and billing information. This just gives you kind of some insights on the total number of entries, any custom fields that you have, and the total number of user licenses you have available. Again, if you want to make any adjustments to your billing or account information, you have to do that on the web version of the software. You can do so through app.sortly.com. Now, custom fields, this is just going to give you a list of all the custom fields that have been created within your system so we can see all of our fields that we've worked with here. If you click on the three dots on any of the fields, you can either edit that field in terms of that name or you can delete that field completely. Keep in mind, if you delete that field, it is permanently deleted. There's no way to essentially recover that field once it has been deleted within the system. So do be aware of that on your end when you are working with this process. Just be aware of that when you're working with that setup. If you wanted to edit the order, you can click on this pencil tool, and this allows you to drag and drop these fields to whatever location you want. So you can see I'm easily able to make those adjustments. And then also at the bottom right-hand corner, there is the ability to add a custom field. If you click on the plus tool, you'll see all of the different custom fields that would be available to you for you to utilize on your account. So feel free to set this up here. There is also this experience in the web version of the software. So if you want a bigger display, feel free to set that up there as well. Now for managing team, this is where you can see all of the different users who are currently associated with your account. If you click on the three dots on a user, this is where you can change their user role or access, such as for this example, I could change Camille to a member, and then I could choose what access they have by clicking on a folder and either giving them can view or can edit permission specifically. Just as a refresher, if they are a can view user, they can view the inventory. They are not able to make adjustments to it. If they are an add and update user, they have full access to update and manage that folder specifically by updating quantity, moving things around, adding notes, etc. There is also the ability here to add additional users. So if you click on the red plus at the bottom, that's going to allow you to type in the user's first and last name. You can do a phone number if you wish, an email, and then you can select their user role. So everything can be managed from the palm of your hand in the mobile app specifically. Now, jumping into creating labels, you can create labels in this panel here. This is specifically for unlinked labels, meaning they're not connected to an item. You do also have the opportunity to create labels that are specific to an item within Sortly, within the app itself or in the web version. So feel free to enable that. If you have some insights or questions on how to set this up, click on how to generate auto-linked labels. That takes you to a support article that will walk you through that process. You can also click get started here. It's going to enable you the opportunity on your end to go ahead and get started with this process and enable that label creation. Now, I'm not going to cover that in today's demo. There are other videos that we've highlighted on our YouTube channel that kind of cover the label creation process. Just note that you're ultimately going to generate a PDF file from Sortly. You will then take that PDF and you will either print that out in your browser or print that out to a printer on your network. So you can use a label printer or a standard printer. Feel free to use whatever works best for you. There's also the opportunity here to manage tags. So any of the tags that have been created in the system from the web version of the software or the mobile will show up here. If you click on the pencil tool, this allows you to edit or delete tags. So you'll see the trash can icon to the right. One thing that I do want to stress to you, if you delete a tag, it is fully deleted from the system. So it will no longer be available for you and the team to utilize. It also removes that tag from every single item within the system on your side specifically. So keep that in mind. You definitely don't want to delete tags once they've been created. There is also the ability to the right of that pencil tool to add a new tag. So if you wanted to type in a new tag here, feel free to type in that tag and hit save. That's going to create that tag in real time for you. Up at the top here, there is a search bar. So if you want to search for tags, you can do so here. And if you want to click into any of the tags, it's going to show all of the items in the system that happen to have that specific tag associated with it. So very nice feature to have or utilize, again, all from the palm of your hand, making that process much, much easier. All right, the last setting I want to talk about in the settings tab here specifically is for syncing inventory. Now, sync is one of the biggest features or components that's offered inside of Sortly. This allows you to make adjustments in the field or on location and have those reflect in real time across all of the devices as well as the web version of the software. Now, there is the opportunity here for you to do some additional settings, whether it's a full sync, whether you want to start syncing, even disable sync or sync only on Wi-Fi, you can set this up accordingly. So generally speaking, as long as you're on the newest version of the app should automatically sync for every adjustment that's been made within the software. But in some instances, you may experience an issue where your items are not syncing or updated. That's where you can go and hit start sync, and it will sync in real time if there are any changes to be made. Now, in this case here, it synced in real time for me. There were no adjustments that have been made recently, so it's showing that I have the up-to-date current inventory in the system. If I wanted to enable sync on Wi-Fi only, I can toggle on that option. That means you're only going to sync when your device is connected to a Wi-Fi network or a wireless network. In the event that you're in a situation where you have essentially, maybe you're in a basement or another location or a warehouse that may have, weak or no signal, you can toggle this option on, and this is only going to sync once you connect to wireless. Otherwise, the app does work in an offline mode. So if you wanted to make adjustments in offline, you don't have to make any adjustments on your end. Once you reconnect to 5G, LTE, etc., you're going to have full access to all of that on your side of things specifically. So do keep that in mind. Now, disable sync specifically, you can toggle that on if you do not wish to sync, meaning everything is stored locally on that device. However, I highly encourage you to not toggle this option on. This is going to sync everything to the server and give you the opportunity on your end to have real-time data pushing and pulling through from the web version of the software and vice versa. If you make changes on the mobile, it is pushed to all of the devices in the web, and the web version changes will be pushed to all mobile devices as well. So from time to time, we may ask for some sync logs, so you'll be able to see when the last sync occurred. So you'll see throughout the day, there's real-time sync occurring in the background, so nothing you really have to do here. If you click on the sync success, you'll see some additional insights here as well. If you're seeing sync failed, you may want to reach out to our support team so we can investigate that further. Just support@sortly.com, and we'll walk you through some troubleshooting steps to make sure that everything is updated. Now, occasionally we may ask you to do a full sync. However, full syncs are not necessarily required with the current version of the application. We primarily focus on looking at just the events that have changed within the software. So specifically on your end, we're only looking for those new updates. If there's items that haven't been touched, we're not really going to sync those until there is an adjustment. However, from time to time, we may ask you to click on full sync. This is going to do a full sync within the software in real time. Up at the top, right below sync inventory, you're seeing the syncing function, and in real time, it's doing about 50 items per second or so, giving me that total. So it's going to run through all of that, and you can see my sync has already been completed. Now, depending on the number of inventory items that you're working with, the number of photos that you have, those things all may cause the sync to be a little bit longer than my short sync that you just saw. So keep that in mind on your end. It may take a few moments to fully sync, a couple minutes even in most cases. So take a look at that. If you're running into any issues or the sync fails, definitely reach out to our team. We're happy to help you there. All right. Jumping over into a couple last minute details. So we have company details here. This is just going to give you the company details for that your account. Keep in mind that on your end, only owner level users are going to have permission to access this panel. No other users will have access to it. So keep that in mind. That's owner specific. There is also a reporting tab. I'm not going to cover that too much here just because there is a video that already covers some of the reports on our YouTube channel. So feel free to take a look at that. The reporting tab is the same reports that you see in the web version, just in a more of a condensed view. So if you do want more of an in-depth report, feel free to use the web version of the software. But a majority of those reports are already offered here. So feel free to utilize these if you'd like. Simply click into the report that you want to work with, and it will show all of the details here. You can click on the three dots up at the top right to go ahead and make adjustments to this report or filter the inventory based on specific folders within the system. So feel free to utilize this as well. And at the bottom right-hand corner, there is an export function that you can utilize on your end to make adjustments or export this data for your records on your end. All right, jumping into the activity history. So we briefly took a look at this, but the activity history is going to show you all of the activity that's occurred within the account in real time. So as we've done this demonstration here, all these adjustments to the fruit punch item have been logged in real time for us. We can see a date and timestamp on the right. We can see the user who performed that action. the specific transaction that they performed, and you're able to see that here specifically. So the activity history report is a great way for you to filter based on a specific user's activity, your personal activity, but it also gives you an opportunity as well to see what activity has been performed in the app, really for a traceability and visibility functionality within the software. So again, feel free to utilize this. This is also available on the web version of the software as well, so feel free to enable that on your end as well. The bulk import option, this allows you to bulk import data directly into the system. So I'm not going to cover this too much. We do have a very detailed video. It's about 17 minutes long on our YouTube channel. This walks you through how to download our template, how to fill out that template, and then how to upload that data directly into the system. So feel free to utilize that as well. If we click on the help and support tab here specifically, this is going to ask the opportunity for you to really dive into some of our additional settings. So we have a help center that has over 100 different help center articles that will help you generate barcodes, QR codes, walk you through how to set up folders and items, assist with setting up custom fields, and just walk you through how to do some additional settings that may not be prevalent in some of these default steps that we've walked you through here today. So feel free to click on the first link there. That's taking you directly to our quick start guide. So feel free to enable that. There's also a contact us that's going to allow you to send a ticket directly to our support team to help with any troubleshooting questions you may have. So highly encourage you to reach out to our support team. We have a great team of members here who are happy to help with any questions you may have. Under the My Tickets, that will show any tickets that you've opened through the system. So you'll be able to see all of the Zendesk tickets that you're working with here specifically. Restore purchases is really only going to pertain to Apple customers. In the event that your trial has lapsed or your account is in an expired state, you can hit restore purchases to enable that setting specifically. There's also, from time to time, we will ask you to send debug information, specifically if you're having sync issues or items are not pulling up. We will ask you to send that debug information so you can pull that information in there specifically, and we will have our engineering team kind of take a further look there. If you're interested in our terms of service or our privacy policy, feel free to click on those links. It's just going to open a web page for you, and it will load some of those settings that you can take a look at and browse through there. Last couple settings here. So there is an option here for signing out. So you can sign out of your account. This allows you to sign into a different account or have another user sign in. So feel free to click on the sign out option there. And as of the time of this demonstration, the newest version of the app is currently 9.7.2. You'll definitely want to make sure that you're updated to the newest version of the app at all times. We generally push out app updates a few times a month, so feel free to have auto updates on in the Google Play or the Apple App Store. We also will notify you generally when there is a newer version available so that you can update to that newest version. Typically, this is going to include updated features, more opportunity for you to have a better sync experience as well on your end specifically. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions there. Really appreciate you jumping on the call today. Again, reach out to support@sortly.com if there's anything else we can help you out with. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.